And this looks like, in front of you, one of the typical moments of where violence bursts into deaths, or typical drive-by shooting. There are policemen looking for clues on the scene, bystanders, or maybe parents crying or discussing aloud, and what you would consider a crowd of journalists ready to, with their notebooks and their interviews. What it appears kind of strange is that, well, there are people moving around collecting evidence, and one of the evidence is a chopped head. Is a human head that has been chopped off, which is, yeah, a little bit too much, even for this kind of setting and in this kind of situation.
I'll even look at
And
Mask and say, "This happens all the time."
From what I remember, not that much, but probably not completely out of place. Probably is an example of the most violent situations that you could expect, but not exactly a daily thing, I would say. Is that right, Adriano?
yeah,
If I'm saying
yeah,
something a
that's
bit off,
definitely out of
okay.
place. And you can see that just a few steps away from you, a journalist is in his car, um, kind of like scribbling notes. He looks in his 30s, although he really looks tired in a way and kind of nervous for a reason that you really don't understand. And when he sees you at the other side, uh, uh, just near him, he just reaches you and presents himself. It's very rude. It's really not any kind of formal presentation. He just says, "Yeah, Jonathan Walker. I work for the Washington Post. Uh, did you see anything weird happening?" Just he just talking to he just talks to Musk. Firstly, identifying him as the maybe you have some kind of clue. Have you seen any kind of suspect moving out of from the zone? You can guess by the voice that this is the supplicant
Ah,
asking for help in a way.
well, that was easy.
Uh, yeah, that was it. In a way that, but it's really out of his place, kind of confused by the whole situation, and yeah, yeah, asking directions and informations to you.
I say we have just arrived, almost as if we were called.
And he just he says, "Come on, you can talk to me. I'm not police. I'm not going to say anything. I mean, maybe one of the goons of Baldy, maybe some other kingpin.
Huh.
Lend me a hand, friend."
Oh, of
Goons
course.
of?
Of course. This is if this is the supplicant, then everything I can do to say, you know, we're here to help you. You can rely on us. Whatever is making you afraid, uh, Please, let's go where you feel more safe.
Well, the the interaction leaves him confused, and at the same time, you see that he really needs some help. He really needs to trust someone, and says, "You fellows maybe out for lunch? I know some place where we can talk more privately."
Thought of going to a typical DC indoor mall coffee, Cinnabon or something like that is
I like
sort
that.
of amusing. So, okay.
Yeah,
Stalker munches Cinnabon, listens to the
nom,
supplicant.
nom.
In his avatar form.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tell me about the chopped heads. Nom, nom, nom.
Yeah.
Delicious.
By the way, the chopped head was where? Was it like in the street, like in the walkway, or?
Yeah, the scene is partially covered, but you can
Mhm.
see that there are two bodies, and the heads have been chopped off, and they've been placed in kind of a symbolic way.
Well, that's
And
different. Right. Mhm.
as you as Jonathan drives by car, you can have a clearer look at the neighbor or at the blocks, and you can see that in a way you have this beautiful series of row houses, brightly colored, and the then you have some quite of in, I would say, activities flourishing up, and at the same time you can see that many of them are closed, and as you drive through your destination you can see a bunch of people hanging out to the employment agencies, that you can see them collecting food stamps. Lots of children
Hmm.
running around, uh, or and lot of slingers at the crossroads. You can see masks. Can see that they're quite different. They're not simply chilling. You can see them looking at bystanders, offering something from behind their vest, or uh, some sort of illegal and very subtle economy flourishing through the crossroads of the block. And the majority of people you can see are of these lingers are Black Americans. Although you can see that clients are
Right.
vastly more varied.
Mhm.
There are white people, black people hanging out. The transactions are kind of like flashes, are very subtle and fast, but you can recognize the sign as they slip through the $5 or $10, and they receive a little vial. And as you arrive at this, well, you can describe, Ron. I'm really not so good at knowing establishments of DC. So if you want to add some kind of particular feature, but yeah, you're sitting there at a table outside one of the coffee shops,
Yeah.
and
If as long as I can contribute about that,
yeah,
depending on the neighborhood, um, a great deal of Washington D.C. is enormous buildings, much more European style. That a building is like a whole block in many cases. Um,
yeah,
and if that's the case, then everything happens inside. You go inside, and there's this huge atrium and shops at multiple levels and stuff like that. It's actually not that common in the States. It's much more common here in Europe. And so Washington, D.C. is sort of monolithic looking through a great deal of its downtown because of that, these enormous concrete, buildings. But on the other hand, a great deal of the rest of it is not. A great deal of the rest of it is more um, single, unattached buildings. Um, but it's huge. It's incredibly urbanized. Incredibly. I mean, just really, really concrete row after row after row after row of houses and streets. Um, as I
Yeah, I was
recall,
looking to Google Maps, and
yeah,
it's really a
yeah,
labyrinth in
yeah,
some
exactly.
way.
And it's very it's allegedly a grid of streets, but like many cities that claim that it's a grid, it's full of confusing traps if you try to actually follow the grid. So it's very confusing to drive through, even though it kind of shouldn't be, but it is. I don't know if that helps at all. But I guess if we're out of the downtown area and we're not looking at the Capitol building anymore, then what you described makes sense that there could be. This is just, it's hard to remember a day before there was Starbucks. But in the late 80s, Pete's Coffee Shop, Starbucks, Caribou, those things just weren't as common as they became. They became so common that it's hard to imagine the world without them. But back then, a coffee shop might not have been one of those. It might actually be more like part of a bookstore or something like that. That's all. Or a breakfast place, like a restaurant with outdoor seating. If
Yeah,
it's not winter, then outdoor seating would be common. So does that help a little?
sure.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
place is just
and
like heavy with car exhaust as well. It's a very I mean, there's the signs of human detritus and pollution and everything are just very thick in DC. So
yeah, and uh, you can see Jonathan almost avidly eating. So he talks with his mouth full as he keeps describing the situation. Okay, so here's the thing. Couple of weeks ago, we had what one would consider a disproportionate reply for from what I would consider a new player in town. Let's just say that these are not the first Chop ads that I see in this week. This is quite unsettling, and people on the streets are nervous, and there have been reciprocal accusations of you did this, no, you did that. But I believe there is something else. Let's say it this way. People, the chop beds are not only a threat, they're an invitation. A friend of mine working at a police station has told me that under their tongues, tickets have been found of some kind of, I don't know, some kind of street art graffiti or some shit like that. It looks like some kind of monster, and it really looks like advertising for a new product. It's called the Sybaritic moment. The Sybaritic moment. It looks like a name for some weird shit like a sex toy or a new experience for the brand new car for America, except that
and these are symbols placed under the tongues of the severed heads.
Yeah, they're just like business cards, which is insane. People are freaking out.
Mhm.
Now, I do believe that this kind of, you know, this series of homicides is connected to the new crack that, circles through the block. And it's a red crack. It's a red stones, like blood. I don't know. It's kind of strange. People are suppose they feel like this is some kind of new, I don't know, pepper variant of crack cocaine, but it may be something else. And surely if there's a new player with a new product, this is the way to impose itself into the market. But the market is chock full of wannabe kingpins and gangsters ready to look for vengeance about this thing. And
I'm baffled by all talk of crack economy. I'm not getting the bits. I have not been able to quite pick up that this stuff is illegal. Right. I mean, I'm not, and that's what my disconnect with the history is kind of like, okay, killing each other over product, some kind of market war, missing the whole business about it being illegal. And I'm the only thing I'm trying to fasten on this, and I'll look at the other two and say, did you see the arrangement of the bodies?
I've noticed something weird, almost ritualistic, perhaps, or a message.
Speaking off of our character sheets, who's got the best occultism?
I have 1 point in occultism.
I got nothing for
Yeah, me neither.
occultism.
I've got a 0. We
I guess
relied on the witch for that stuff. So,
Did I roll?
yeah. So by me asking that, I'm going to say, does this?
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
you
Yeah.
think?
So this is inside. Give me a second. So I have 3 dice that are 1,
So,
but the highest dice is 4, so I think it's the 4 that counts.
correct.
Right. Unfortunately, with
That's a
occultism,
5,
that's
right.
just a 5. So.
Okay, so we're not. We all think there's something odd about the arrangement, but it's not clicking for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan, my name is Hazard. Who knows what the veil makes of that, but I'm sure it supplies a perfectly suitable name. I don't hear it. Whatever he hears is the veil's problem. So my name is Hazard, and you asked us for information, but we have to rely on you. We are able to help you. Are you looking for a story? Is that what you want? You said you were some kind of a journal keeper, a writer. I don't catch the word journalist. I hope the veil fills that one in for me. But so is that what you want here? Is a story? Are you paid for that? Is that what you want? Is there?
You can.
Are you worried about the people? Do you care about what is happening to people?
Lilith
The
will
moment
kind of
you
echo
say
it
this,
and say, surely not. One doesn't pray to the dark merely for a story.
That's what I want to know. Who is this person?